In the remote province of Sichuan, China, there is a narrow, winding path known to the locals as Single Braid Road. This ancient trail, etched into the side of a steep mountain, has long been shrouded in mystery and fear. The road gets its name from its narrowness, which forces travelers to walk single file, like a solitary braid weaving through the rugged landscape. The legend of Single Braid Road dates back hundreds of years to a time when a young woman named Lianhua lived in a small village nestled at the mountain's base. Lianhua was known for her beauty, particularly her long, glossy black hair, which she wore in a single elegant braid. She was kind and gentle, beloved by all who knew her. One fateful day, Lianhua was betrothed to a wealthy merchant from a distant town. Though she did not love him, she accepted her fate to bring honor and prosperity to her family. On the night before her wedding, she decided to visit the shrine at the top of the mountain to pray for strength and courage. Clad in a red silk dress, she set off alone on Single Braid Road, her heart heavy with sadness. As Lianhua ascended the mountain, a sudden storm rolled in, enveloping the path in darkness. Lightning split the sky, and thunder roared, but she pressed on, determined to reach the shrine. Near the summit, she encountered a group of bandits who had been lying in wait. They seized her, intent on stealing her dowry and leaving no witnesses. Despite her pleas and struggles, the bandits showed no mercy. In a final act of cruelty, they cut off her braid, mocking her as they tossed it aside. They left her broken and bleeding on the mountainside, where she succumbed to her injuries. Her body was never found, but her spirit lingered, bound to the place of her tragic end. From that day forward, travelers on Single Braid Road began to report strange occurrences. On stormy nights, the air would grow cold, and a sorrowful wail would echo through the mountains. Those who dared to walk the path alone often claimed to see a figure in a red dress, her long black hair flowing behind her as if caught in an invisible wind. One such traveler was Li Wei, a young man from a neighboring village. He had heard the stories of Lianhua but dismissed them as mere superstitions. One evening, as a storm began to brew, he found himself on Single Braid Road, eager to reach his destination before nightfall. The sky darkened, and the first drops of rain began to fall as he hurried along the narrow path. As Li Wei rounded a bend, he saw a woman standing in the middle of the road. She wore a red dress soaked by the rain, and her long black hair covered her face. He called out to her, asking if she needed help, but she did not respond. Instead, she began to walk slowly towards him, her movements almost ethereal. Li Wei felt a chill run down his spine as he took a step back. The woman's hair parted, revealing a pale, sorrowful face with hollow eyes that seemed to bore into his soul. She lifted her hand, and he saw that she held a severed braid, dripping with blood. The sight filled him with a sense of overwhelming dread. Panicking, Li Wei turned and ran, his heart pounding in his chest. The wind howled around him, carrying the woman's mournful wail. He dared not look back, but he could feel her presence close behind, her sorrow and rage palpable in the air. The path seemed to stretch endlessly, the storm intensifying with each step. Finally, he stumbled into the village at the base of the mountain, gasping for breath. The villagers gathered around him, their faces grim as he recounted his encounter. They nodded knowingly, understanding that the spirit of Lianhua had once again made her presence known. In the days that followed, Li Wei could not shake the memory of the encounter. He was plagued by nightmares in which the woman in the red dress appeared, her sorrowful eyes accusing him of abandoning her. Desperate for peace, he sought the counsel of the village elder, a wise woman who knew the ancient ways. The elder told him that Lianhua's spirit would never rest until she was avenged and her braid was returned to her. She instructed Li Wei to climb the mountain once more, this time carrying offerings and a talisman of protection. He was to find the place where Lianhua had died and bury the offerings, along with the talisman, to appease her restless soul. With a heavy heart, Li Wei set out on Single Braid Road once more. The journey was fraught with fear, but he was determined to lay Lianhua's spirit to rest. As he reached the spot where he had first seen her, the storm began to gather, and the air grew icy. He placed the offerings, a bowl of rice, incense, and fresh flowers, on the ground, and buried the talisman beside them. He bowed deeply, praying for Lianhua's forgiveness and peace. As he did, the wind seemed to die down, and a sense of calm settled over the mountain. In the distance, he heard the faint sound of a woman's voice, singing a melancholic tune. He looked up to see the figure in the red dress once more, standing a short distance away. This time her expression was softer, and her eyes no longer held the same haunting sorrow. She nodded to him before slowly fading into the mist, her form blending with the shadows of the forest. Li Wei returned to the village, the weight of his encounter lifting from his shoulders. The villagers noted a change in the atmosphere on Single Braid Road. The air seemed lighter, and the sense of foreboding had diminished. The legend of Lianhua lived on, but her spirit at last found peace. From that day on, travelers who ventured onto Single Braid Road would leave small offerings at the shrine near the summit, a tribute to the tragic maiden who had once haunted the path. And though the tale of Lianhua's sorrowful spirit remained a part of local folklore, her presence was no longer a source of fear, but a reminder of the enduring power of compassion and forgiveness.